Everybody, welcome to Much is Required. If you're new, thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for, subscribing, like, share, comment. I need all the help I can get, all the prayers I can get. Sorry for the shaky screen. My cat's trying to get my attention, and she is rubbing her face on my laptop, which is a little bit annoying. So please stop that. Please stop. I'm gonna to get my weapon here. Oh, here it is. Okay, there we go. Anyway, I'm Melissa, and welcome again. Sorry for the disruption. Um, so I'm here to talk about. It's not supposed to be comedy, but she's steadily trying to make this into a comedy, and it's not. This is a very serious topic. I had to chime in on this. I have been following the Daystar scandal, and I have to talk about this because it triggered me. It triggered me to the point of the main thing that was triggering for me is a grandmother defending a alleged pedophile, her own granddaughter. And it took me back to when I was 6 years old, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and my mother's boyfriend was in my room with his hands in my pajama pants, and I was terrified. Like, I was terrified, and I was disgusted, and I was angry because I knew something was wrong. And this is how I know too that God always had his hands on me. He always had his hands on me, and I always there was something that was always with me. Of course, I know it was God's angels that always were protecting me, because I shared in another video how I was nearly molested 6 times before I was 8 years old. And this was the one time that I told, and I was just like, just mortified. I mean, I don't even know if that's a strong enough word, but I I remember going to knocking on my sister's door, and they were laughing at me. They were laughing at me because they didn't believe me. They thought, what a crazy dream she had, something like that. Like, no one, they didn't believe me. So I ran into my mother's room, and I remember he must have been scared because he ran in there before me. He sat down, she had a recliner next to the bed, and she was in the bed, kind of passed out, because I also shared my mother drank a lot. Um and he sat in this chair, and he crossed his legs, and he was extremely smug. And and he was and, he, and I was telling my mom, I'm like, Mom, you know his name was Leslie. I'm sure he's probably dead or out by now, but I was like, he had his hands in my pants. And so my mom was like, just go back to bed, it's okay, just kind of brushing me off because of the state probably that she was in at that time, and it was in the middle of the night. And he was telling her she had a bad dream. That's not true. He was denying the whole thing. And he's like, she was just having a bad dream. She was just having a bad dream. And he also was probably surprised that I even was fighting back. And so anyway, I went back to bed. I don't even know if I slept, but I went back to bed, and I probably went and slept with my sisters, something like that. But I don't remember that part. But I do remember the next day how I was following my mother around the whole day because I really wanted her to believe me. And it was just so empowering when she finally looked at me and said, "You must be telling the truth, because there's no way that you would give up your playtime to try to convince me of this." She goes, "So I'm going to take care of this. Don't worry." And she goes, "I'm going to give him a surprise when he comes today, because usually would work and he'd come around 5 p.m., if I remember correctly." And so um, when he came to the door, 5 o'clock, fast forward, I was so excited. I was so excited because I knew my mother was going to take care of it. We had a huge crystal vase that sat on our front porch, and this is like a heirloom. I mean, it sat there for as long as I can remember. I remember I was only 6 or 7. But the whole time, as long as I could remember, it was there, and it sat in the corner of our front porch. It was a huge, beautiful crystal bottle. And so he came to the door, and my mother called me to the door, And when she opened the door, she's like, "Oh, I have a surprise for you." And he's like, "Oh, good." And I remember him smiling. And she grabbed this crystal thing and she smashed it over his head. And she shut the door. She said, "Never come back here again." And we never saw him again. I never saw him again. I don't know if he was allowed to come back, but I know I never saw him again. And knowing my mother was a woman full of integrity and beauty, and she's just very graceful. I mean, she had 10 kids. Altogether, we have 11. I have 11 siblings. Um, but my mother was not. She defended her children. And so anyways, she probably just kind of figured out what his next move would be. So I remember we went upstairs, and well, she went upstairs first and she called me upstairs and said, "Come look at this." And next door, like on the left-hand side of our house, I remember was the Granbys. Those were our neighbors and they had their own taxi company. And then on the right-hand side was my aunt and uncle, and they also had a taxi company. So he knew not to go to them because they were family. But he went to the Granbys, and it was summertime. It must have been around summer or spring because the oak leaves, I believe, was an oak tree where the leaves were huge. And this man was big to me because I'm 6, so I don't know. He could have been a short man, but to me, he was very tall. And he had this leaf wrapped around his head because I guess he was bleeding profusely. And went to the Granbys, and the Granbys took him to the hospital. And he called my mother later on and told her that he had to get 63 stitches in his head. And I'll never forget that because we lived at 63 Highland Avenue. That was our address. And so, um, yeah, I was just like, that was a very proud time for me because my mother defended me. And when I saw that Joni was literally trying to back up someone who is allegedly a pedophile toward her own granddaughter, I was like, this can't be real. This can't be, because I also hear stories where the mothers turn on their own kids because the kids are trying to tell the mother that the person that she's dating or that she's allowing into the house is a pedophile. And so, oh my goodness, I could tell more stories, but I have to get permission to share these other stories. But um, this is a disgrace. It really is. It really, really is. And I just want to speak to Joni. Joni, you should be ashamed of yourself. Because what profits a man to gain the world and lose his soul? And so you're trying to profit the world and trying to cover your image, which is pretty much already kind of destroyed. Um, and then, your soul. I mean, there's something obviously very sick in your soul. And so I'm just praying for, all the lost souls and all the darkness to come to light, first of all, and for everyone to be compelled by the power of Christ to repent and turn from their wicked ways because the days are so short. God is he's not playing around. And so this is very serious. I'm especially praying for Jonathan and Susie and for their child. God bless their child. I mean, God bless all of you. And may God continue to give you strength and comfort and peace and just, wisdom going forward. I'm just so proud of how the Lord just really, really sends the servants, He sends the resources in order to help you, that He sends the helpers to help you through this very difficult thing. I know this has to be so hard, especially between a mother and her son. I'm almost compelled, to I'm getting a little bit choked up and emotional because this really, really triggered me. And so I just want you to know my heart is there with you. I am praying for all of you. God bless you all. And if I feel led to share more, I will share more. But this is tragic to me. But I know that God said, He said in His Word, all things work together for those who love Him. And I know Jonathan and Susie have a genuine love for the Lord, and God is opening up a humongous door for you. So stay encouraged and Yeah, stay golden. God bless you all. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video.